Hello everybody. So, thank you all for joining me for this video. This video is actually quite important, and I haven't talked about this in a very long time, but I think it's very important. Um, I need to shave. I need to do something with my awful beard that I have. Yeah, but so today's video is going to be about mental illness and parents. Now, I have been mentally ill my whole life, as you all know. I diagnosed with schizophrenia for most of my life, and I've had mental problems my entire life. Um, Now with parents, it is a little weird. It gets weird when you have show signs of mental health issues. I remember back in the day. I remember I was a sophomore in high school, and things were just going very, very badly for me, mental health wise. But when I was like 11, I remember writing in a notebook because back then I used to write about my problems and like try to just vent to myself, I guess. And um, I wrote in a notebook that I had voices telling me to harm myself or harm people. And I wrote that in the notebook, and my parents found it, or my mom did. And she was very concerned about that. But it never really went anywhere. I don't know why. I didn't really question it. I didn't really even care. I remember I was really young. I was like 11, 12 years old. And that's a very strange thing to have when you're 11, 12 years old. But around that age, that's when I wasn't fully mentally like crazy, as you would say. But I remember back when I was in my sophomore year of high school, I told my mom about all these problems that I was having and how long it's been happening. I don't know. It was just random. I just talked about it. I had the courage to talk about it, and I had the bravery to talk about it to my parents. Because that's when it gets really strange. Is when you start talking to it about your parents, and you kind of just, I don't know if it's like you feel ashamed or something. I felt like back then I was ashamed of it. And no one should ever feel that way. Or I don't want to use the word ashamed, but I felt, I don't know what kind of feeling it is. I'm sure people know what I'm talking about, but it just feels very weird because I'm a very awkward person. I'm very awkward when it comes to these sorts of things. Very awkward when it comes to talking about my problems, especially in person, face to face. I'm very awkward in person. I'm very in my element when I'm doing this sort of thing because I'm basically just talking to myself, and I'm talking about myself to no one. There's no one here. I'm not talking to anyone. So I'm good at this sort of thing. But if it's an in person thing, it's very strange. And we all got that sorted, and I had to drop out of high school after that. I couldn't be in school any longer. And then I started going into mental hospitals, and everything just started getting worse and worse and worse after that. So I talked about my parents. I mean, talked to it to my parents, and then we went to go get help. I went to go see a therapist, and they suggested that I go to a psychiatrist. And I don't remember exactly what happened after that. I don't know if I went to the mental hospital or I saw a psychiatrist. I don't remember which one it was or which order it was in. Now, I know a lot of parents watch my videos, okay? I know a lot of people who have kids that have mental problems watch my videos. So I think it's a very good idea to talk about it. Um, I feel like it's just a very good idea. Now, thankfully enough, my parents have always been um, really supportive of me. They've always loved me, and they've always cared a lot about me, and they've always done their best to provide for me, and always done their best to be the best parents they could, and they can be. Um, you always want your parents to have. I mean, you always want your kids to have a better childhood than you had. Um, and my parents didn't have that great of a childhood. You know, um, and they have given me so much, and they're the best parents I could ever ask for, and I would never ever change to have them or have someone else to be my parents instead of them. They're the best parents ever. And I am very lucky to have them, you know. But at first, like, you know, when you first start going through these mental health problems, you kind of are in denial, or your parents are in denial of it, and they're like, oh, this is happening to my kid. This is what my kid has to go through. And they're in denial of it. And my parents weren't in that. They were really not in denial of it. You know, they were a little bit, but not anything crazy. You know, they were understanding, and they started becoming more understanding over the years of what kind of illness this is, and how my parent, or how they can help, what they can do to help. You know, and they've done a fantastic job. Now, I know a lot of people my age, or people who are going through these sorts of things, going through a bunch of mental problems, and they feel like they cannot go to their parents. You just have to take that step. Honestly, I took that step. I didn't know what to expect, but you have to take that step no matter what. You can't think, because I know of a lot of people have came to me and said their parents would a lot of their parents don't really accept it, and they just say, oh, you don't have anything wrong with you, you know, like that. But you got to make them understand everything it is and what you're going through, and that you need help immediately. A lot of people have this weird thing about mental illness, that it's just not, I don't know what it is exactly. It's not a thing or something like that, you know. It's not something to worry about, or you're not mentally ill, you know. But it's like, I feel like a lot of parents are ashamed that their kid has this problem. And I would say to them, that's like being ashamed of someone who has cancer, that they have this illness, that they have cancer, and that you're ashamed of it. Having a mental illness is the same way. You can't be ashamed of someone having a illness with their brain. It's the same thing. If you have a physical illness, it's the same thing. Well, it's not the same thing, but it fits in the category. And you should never be ashamed, especially someone my age, or someone of you guys are ashamed that you have this. You shouldn't be ashamed at all. It's not something you should be ashamed about. You can't control it, and you cannot change it. You can help it, and you can be the best person you can be with it, and that's what everyone, I feel like, should do. You should never be ashamed. You should never let your parents, or never let anyone tell you something that is not correct. All right, and a lot of parents have watched my videos, and I feel as if I've helped them understand the illness more. I've helped them understand mental illness more, and that's what my goal is. My goal is as an educator of mental illness, to help people in the best way I can possible, and to make them understand that mental illness is and always has been a thing. You know, you can't change it. All you can do is help it. You should never be ashamed of it. You should always do your best to help a person who has a mental problem. And it isn't easy. It's not easy. It affects the brain. It affects the ear. It affects your brain, and you can't really do anything about it. You can do sorts of things, and certain things that can help, you know. But what I would say to these two parents is to be a parent. If you're a person, or if you're a parent that is denying the entire thing and thinking your child doesn't have a mental illness, your job as a parent is to help your child to the best way possible, to the best possible way you can. That's your job as a parent. And I feel as if you're not doing that job, then you're not a good parent. Okay? If I was a parent and my child had any illness, I would do my best in every possible way to make my child feel comfortable, feel safe, feel comfortable in their own skin and to bust my ass on everything to do with that kid. My child is going to have the best life possible, and I'm going to help them with any problem they ever have. You know? So that's what parents should do. You should not deny any child of getting help in any way possible, especially mental help. Mental help is one of the most important things that you can do if you have a mental illness. And a lot of parents do really well. A lot of parents don't do really well, with these sorts of things. But reality is reality. You can't change it. You can't change the reality of someone having a mental illness. You can't do that. You can't just ignore it. But I don't know. I've talked to so many people that have just talked to me, and they just have said their parents don't support them in any way possible, and that their parents don't believe them, that they have a mental illness, or they don't believe in mental illness themselves, and that really upsets me a lot. Because it's like, why are they a parent? To be honest with you, why are they a parent when they aren't helping their kid, or whatever? I feel like that's horrible parenting. But you can't really do anything about it. But you just help yourself. Just be like, my parents are gonna do it, so I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bust my ass on getting myself help and getting myself better. I'm not gonna say that. I gotta be child friendly somewhat, but you gotta help yourself. Even if you don't really have that much of a support group at home or whatever, you've got to help yourself. I know it's really rough. I mean, it would be really rough for me if I didn't have my parents' help or anything like that. I've been lucky to have the parents I do, and I know everybody is not. They don't have that, but there's multiple ways you can do it. You don't need your parents' permission, or you don't need your parents to help you. And also, just don't be scared. Do not be scared to get help in any way possible. It's just not. I mean, I know I was terrified of saying anything to my parents about it for a very long time. But the best thing that has ever happened to me is I talked about it and I got the help I needed. If I didn't get the help I needed, things would have been very strange. Things would have been very, very bad. So just don't be scared of it. You gotta look at it as it's an illness. You need to get help because you have an illness. It's physical, mental, whatever. An illness is an illness. You get help, and you go and get it under control. That's just what you do, and you can't be scared of that. I grew the courage to do it. I'm not. I was very terrified of it. In the moment too, I was when I was talking about it, I was very just very strange about it. Just don't be scared. Even if your parents don't support you in it, you have to take that risk. You have to take that jump on getting yourself help. And if your parents won't help you, then you go to a different family member, or you just do it yourself. You can do it at any age. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be 18 plus to talk to a psychiatrist or anything like that. Maybe you do in some countries, but just don't be scared. And make your parents understand. Make your parents understand what this is. And I mean, mental illness nowadays is very prominent. A lot of people talk about it. It's not something that's very strange. It's part of you. It's part of the person. You can't do anything to change it. There's nothing to be upset about. You can't change the inevitable. Just don't be scared and do everything you can in your power to make people understand. And don't be scared, or don't be ashamed that you have a mental illness. It's nothing to be ashamed about. Okay? So yeah, that's about it for this video today. I hope you all enjoyed. If you enjoyed this video, I make a video every week. Subscribe and liking the video helps a lot, gets the video out there more. Also, I have a bunch of social medias, or whatever you say. I don't know what to say. I don't know. I got a Facebook page where people message me. I message them back. I got a Twitter. I don't tweet much, but yeah, you can follow me. I usually post when I upload on Twitter, on Instagram also. If you want to follow me on Instagram, so yeah, there's that. Snapchat. I talk to people on Snapchat all the time, all day, usually. Unless sometimes I don't feel well, so I don't feel like responding to anybody. I also have a Patreon. If you want to support me through there, that would be great. You don't have to. It doesn't really matter. Also, what else? I got a Twitch account where I stream live on. So yeah, if you guys want to support me in any of those areas, go right ahead. I hope you all enjoyed this. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.